case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
The floor is yours.
Oh, where else to start?
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
The Wild are back to their winning ways.
And Eric Sinek on the draw. It's one back by the Panthers in the dying seconds of regulation. Faber keeps it on a failed clear through the high slot. A wrister. Tarasov the save rebound. They score! With 3.8 seconds left, the Wild have pulled in front. Joel Eriksson jammed home the rebound. It's 3-2 Minnesota.
And that really was the justified result of the game yesterday in Sunrise, where it just seemed like the Wild were all over him and just could not get anything past Tarasov, I believe the goalie's name is. Very good performance from him, but it was justified. They see another 2 goals, a 2-goal lead lost. Kevin Gorg somewhere giggling at that. But they stick with it, and they get the win with that Joel Eriksson game winner. So you're Wild. They take 2, they give none, even though it doesn't matter. And they beat the Panthers. So they're back. They're winning ways. They get Boston. That is tomorrow at 4 at TD Garden.
All right, let me ask you something here. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for on the fly, so I don't like show you my cards, so to speak, as we say in the business.
Is it Kaprizov stat line?
No, it's not actually. In this case, it's the gap now between us and the Stars is 3 points, and they now have only 1 game in hand. So is that close enough to where I have not compared our schedules or anything? Is that close enough again to, well, that doesn't have to be a pipe dream, that actually we do have something to play for, unless you're in the group that says home ice advantage means nothing. It often doesn't mean as much as it does in other sports, but I will still say to you, if I'm trying to get back on the board in the playoffs, I want every advantage, whether it's real or imagined, possible, including the possibility that if a series goes 7 games, I get Game 7 at my place. Why is that so outlandish?
I'm in the camp of, if they don't get it, I'm not going to be
no.
It's over.
I get that.
Yeah,
but isn't it a worthy thing to hope to get to?
I personally think it is. I think if you go to 7 games, which this Star Series could easily go to 7 games, and you want that at the slot machine or whatever we're calling it these days, Grand Casino Arena. That's where you want that game. So I think it's something worth fighting for and worth focusing on. And 3 points.
Now that it's closer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here we go again. Just think of what would have happened if they would have taken care of business that week at home. But
we may look back on that.
Can't do anything about it now. But there is a realistic shot if the Stars keep losing. Yes. There is a realistic shot that the Wild can come back and get it.
Now it's close enough to where I think you got to rethink my previous position, which was just get healthy, experiment if you need to, don't obsess over these games. And in the end, like you say, it may not matter. You probably could still give them a good series, but I want every advantage that I could get.
Your Minnesota Timberwolves still coming down from the high of that dramatic comeback victory against Houston at Target Center on Wednesday. They get the Pistons at home tomorrow. That's 4:30. The injury report for your Timberwolves, it's interesting. So we mentioned earlier, Ayo Dosunmu questionable right calf soreness, but Jaden McDaniels added to the out category with right knee soreness. That's no good not having Jaden there. So
against Detroit. National game tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So questionable with Ayo. We'd love to see Ayo back. I love watching him play.
We know that Edwards is still out, although I think he is getting closer. And of course, Jaden didn't finish the overtime comeback game either, where the Wolves had pretty much everybody either out because of injury, fouling out, getting thrown out, combination of reasons. So, and Detroit is, still missing their superstar, but they're still a very formidable opponent, as they often prove. So it's a nice little matchup. And speaking of home ice, I still think it is worthy of trying to get to the 4th spot in the Western Conference playoffs, Western Conference standings, I should say. to whoever. If that drops Denver to 5, I like having home field. If it's Houston at 5, I like that too. I know we've played Denver enough to think we can beat them anywhere, and maybe we feel like we can beat Houston everywhere. But again, I think you go after every advantage you could get, and that's still very much in the team's reach. We know they can't tie with Denver because Denver has the tiebreaker on us. Now, with Houston, in terms of tiebreakers, each team has won one game. They have one more game left in Houston as well. So it's basically those three teams, it seems, fighting largely for 4, 5, and 6.
The breaking news earlier today, right at the end of Common into Bumper to Bumper, was Tiger Woods involved in yet another car accident. This one seems different. Thankfully, it seems like everyone's okay. That's the main headline in both cars. It was considered a rollover accident, but then it seems like, listening to the sheriff, which I have a little audio for you, that it was more of a tipping over onto the driver's side than a roll. So everyone's okay. But here's, after the crash, some of the analysis that the sheriff was talking about earlier today.
Came to the scene here, and Mr. Woods did exemplify signs of impairment. They did several tests on him. Of course, he did explain the injuries and the surgeries that he had. We did take that into account. But they did do some in-depth roadside tests. And when it was determined, he was placed under arrest and taken to the Martin County Jail. At the Martin County Jail, and even on scene, we really weren't suspicious of alcohol being involved in this case, and that proved to be true at the jail. So Mr. Woods did a breathalyzer test, blew 000s, but when it came time for us to ask for a urinalysis test, he refused, and so he's been charged with DUI, with property damage, and refusal to submit to a lawful test. In the crash, no one was injured. Mr. Woods did not seem to be injured at all, and the other gentlemen were not injured. But this happened a few hours ago, so I've given you the information that I have right here, right now.
So that's from the sheriff, John Budensiek, Budensiek. A good summary there.
Yeah, so that begs the question, if he's being placed with DUI and it's confirmed not alcohol, he wasn't drunk driving.
Right.
I mean, you have to think, and he mentioned the surgeries and injuries.
Yes.
That leads, at least me,
pills.
Grain of salt, pills, painkillers.
Exactly.
Something along those lines.
Woods was described as cooperative, but not trying to incriminate himself, is the way, at a later point, the sheriff put it as well. So we do know that he was, of course, involved in that single car crash back in February 2021. Serious injuries to his lower body, his right leg requiring a long surgical procedure as well. And he's been battling a lot of injuries since, including he had back surgery as most recently in October as well. So not good news at all, not encouraging news at all for Woods in terms of driving under the influence. And we'll see what his attorneys say and where this goes from there. He's been kind of in the news because he was back playing was it Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah,
you said
Tuesday,
this week. And there's been a lot of discussion about he keeps saying he wants to participate in the Masters. This was before this arrest. I think it was President Trump who broke the story that he's not going to participate in the Masters.
Oh, really?
That might be moot at this point, but I believe I read that somewhere. And then the assumption is that he was.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's conflicting information. Now I don't know where this fits in to everything that takes place. So none of it particularly good, none of it particularly helpful. And again, we don't know that much about the collision. The vehicles didn't look like they were tremendously damaged, although if you have one car that's on its side, that never bodes well.
So during this audio, I didn't play the first half of it, but it basically goes through what the collision was.
Right.
So this truck it was like a pressure cleaner. It was a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
Trying to pull into a driveway, and Tiger, we don't got time for that. So we're trying to go around him very quickly, clips him. There's your tip over the driver's side.
Not helpful at all.
Yeah.
All right, that's 5. It's close enough.
That's 5, but actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
That'll work. We'll come back with some texts, and then we'll prepare for Lavelle E. Neal III at 5:30.
chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows? You can. It's very easy. You can make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Just let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
Let's get to some texts here as we prepare for Lavelle at the bottom of the hour. Don't forget, we're out at 6 tonight for Golden Gopher women's basketball. Pregame show will start at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. Guardsy leading the way from Sacramento. The Gophers with a massive challenge, taking on top seed UCLA for the opportunity to advance to the so-called Elite Eight. Last I saw, the Gophers were 18.5-point underdogs for this game. So they go in with a lot of work to do. UCLA has been a dominant team pretty much from start to finish. I think only one loss this season. And you could say to a certain extent that the Gophers are playing with house money, as the cliche goes. Getting to where they are, took full advantage of having the hosting the first two rounds and getting out of there in dramatic fashion with the late basket with what was it 0.7, 0.8 seconds to go to knock off Ole Miss. So to that extent, I guess you could play somewhat loose, but UCLA has a way of tightening you up right away because they're just so damn good. So we'll see how that goes tonight, and I'm sure we will review all of it during Sunday sermons one way or the other. We were chatting with Ben Gessling about the question I had, whether what's a bigger, more historic gaffe when it comes to sports or a big game in sports? Is it 12 men in the huddle, or is it having 4 players on a basketball court with the ball in bounds? And where is the 603 area code? Do you know where that is located? 603? That one didn't sound very familiar for me, I should say.
That is New Hampshire.
It's clearly 12 men in the huddle that's worse. The team with 12 gets penalized. The team can play with 4. Absolutely stupid comparison. I love, where did you say, Maine?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. I love New Hampshire this time of year, 603 guy. Although I guess it doesn't mean he lives there. You could just have a phone from there.
True.
I don't know what you're smoking or what you're watching, but if you're not aware of how in a game in which the ball is coming in bounds and you only have 4 players on the court, the danger of that situation played out right in front of us. We don't have to speculate on it. It happened last night, is that you don't have enough players on there to guard on the inbounds pass all of the players on the other team, which led to an easy basket and 3-point play. So, no, so the penalty in that case isn't a flag. The penalty is you give up an easy 3-point play and the game is over. So I don't know where your thread of logic is, but God bless you if you feel that. I didn't think it was worth feeling that strongly about, but it sounds like he might be mad about a few things. So whether a penalty is assessed or not, the question had to do more with, in a sort of sports sense, which play is more infamous, or which play ends up being more memorable for all of the wrong reasons. And given that we have many examples of 12 men in the huddle, and we have very few that we can come up with in which a team has voluntarily gone with 4 players, not because they wanted to, but just because they forgot to have 5 out there, I think puts it, for me, very close to the top of the list. Lots of good Mar texts coming in. I want to get to a few of them. That subject came in when I mentioned about an email I had received overnight. This is from Jimmy in Como Park regarding the emailer. His opinion is not valid on Mar. He needs to listen or watch more than one episode. This is coming from a conservative. That's Jimmy checking in out of Como Park. Mar is great. He's here for discourse and conversation, a lost art. That's another, I believe, strength of his is he'll invite pretty much anybody on that panel. Anybody. Righties, lefties, commies, fringe righties, lunatic fringe. He'll put anybody on there, and a lot of times it just depends on who says yes and who's available, but he will certainly go quite across the political spectrum in that regard. There was another couple. This is from Craig out of Boston. Umpire analogy to Bill Maher and the progressives in MAGA. One, progressive umpires call strikes from thighs to shoulders. MAGA umpires call strikes from below knees to armpits. Maher simply points out when the progressive umpire calls the strike above the armpits or when MAGA umpire calls the strike below the knee. I like the way you put that together. That's very well played, very well put as well. So I did have one. I can't scroll all the way down. Sometimes it stops me, but I think paraphrase. A couple of people said they were unhappy with Maher regarding the trip he took. He ended up having dinner at the White House, and I think that's at least 6 months ago. I don't know the exact date. It feels like that's been a while, and I think the feeling was that he was too understanding of, or too warm about the invitation, and that in a sense it kind of quote unquote normalized Trump. Trump can't be normalized. I think we will start right there. And I have no problem with differences or difficulties accepting some of the things Maher said upon going. I don't have any problem whatsoever with him going. But here's the kicker that, again, tells me people tend to remember what they want to remember. If from that point forward, everything out of Bill Maher's mouth seemed pro-Trump, not just right after the dinner, but ever since, then I might get the ongoing fascination with it and concern with it. Like, well, he had dinner with him, in a sense, seemed to buy him off, and ever since, he's refused to rip the president. Again, I don't know what you're watching, what you're listening to, but he's had no difficulty, if you want to say reverting, no difficulty over a period of months criticizing the president heavily on a number of fronts. So I don't know, other than, I guess, you want to believe with what you want to believe, and you want to be disappointed and stay disappointed. I don't know how you leave out the second part. If you merely talk about the visit without what has followed in the months afterwards, that includes a lot of vicious commentary on the president, then to me, you're not following the story. You're following a part of the story that leads to a conclusion that you want to cling to, regardless of what the last few months have indeed indicated. We've got Lavelle. If you have questions for him, I got a bunch. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm putting Lavelle in the meat grinder on a bunch of stuff when we come back. If you have questions, 64686. Reminder, we're out at 6 today for Golden Gopher women's basketball. In addition, on Enough Said tonight, I want to mention Guardsy was not available, so it's our guy, Pierre Nugent, kind enough to fill in from Fox 9. It's a very sportsy show. We cover a lot of ground, and I believe because of the UFL, the premiere, the world season premiere of the UFL on Fox 9, we're on at 10:30 on Fox 9, and we're on at the usual 7:30 on Fox 9 Plus. Let's get to Lavelle. We'll get to some baseball and some other things with him and whatever else you might have for him when we return.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Brought to you by American Pressure.
Rap music early because we are out at a little before 6 o'clock today. Golden Gopher women's basketball in the Big Dance, Sweet 16, taking on the UCLA Bruins in Sacramento, California. Guardsy with all of the action with an extended 30-minute. Well, he says actually they usually do a 30-minute pregame show, unlike Fallness, but it's not often on the Fan necessarily the entire pregame show. So that's at 6. Opening face-off just past 6:30. Lavelle, are you one of the 25 Star Tribune people who are all going to be live blogging on this game and with none of you being there?
Hey, live blogging is the new hotness, man. That's our new jam. It's collaborative. And that's the key word in today's corporate society, right?
It sure is.
We can all collaborate for the cause. We had 3 or 4 people blogging on the Twins game yesterday, and we're probably going to have more for the. Well, actually, I have been asked to do it, but I'm sure there'll be a couple people live blogging to go for women's game as well. Hey, man, it's the new normal in our business. Live blog was a hit with some other things. Actually, this goes back to a couple years ago when the Twins actually were good and they beat the Blue Jays in the postseason. And I did a live blog, and we had not done it before, and it went over really well. It was just me chiming in with my observations during the game, and then I filed a column afterwards. And I think, that bug has always been in their ears about kind of resuming this approach, and now they're doing it. So, but, you can either read our live blog or listen to Guardsy's dulcet tones on the radio while reading our live blog, and you will be thoroughly informed of the Gophers' attempts to knock off the number 1 seed UCLA Bruins.
And by the way, in fairness to your newspaper, my former newspaper, I believe Chip Scoggins is there as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chip is there.
I do want to mention that.
We have a photographer there as well. So Chip was doing a number of games late in the season. Yeah. As you know, we're shorthanded, and he ended up getting the nod to go to Sacramento.
I've got a stat for you that I think you'll appreciate. I hope Rubes appreciate it as well. Some will, some won't. It's a nugget that doesn't surprise me, but stunned me, if that makes any sense, almost to the point where it makes me cry. Here it is. The Los Angeles Times had an average daily circulation of 1,225,189 in April 1990. In 2026, its average daily circulation is 63,492.
The powerhouse LA Times is down to 63,000.
From 1.3, almost 1.3 million, Lavelle.
Yeah.
Man, it's a different world.
Yeah, the projections were, I think by the end of 2029, we were going to be down to 20,000. And that was one of the reasons that they decided to put as many resources in the digital product as possible to get people to kind of transfer over.
Right.
And get involved that way. But, yeah, you think about the precipitous fall. Just because people don't – I still run into people who say, I really like holding the physical paper. And I was like, well, you may have to just hold the physical iPad and get your news fix from now on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's the way it is. By the way, you probably have heard the news by now. Breaking Tiger Woods news. He has been arrested, apparently in jail right now as we speak, on suspicion of driving while under the influence. In this case, it was a 2-car crash. Nobody injured in either vehicle. Tiger, according to authorities, blew a 0.0. They don't think this is a case of drunk driving, but they do have concerns about something else being in his system. He refused a urine test, and so he has been arrested on suspicion of DUI. Your thoughts?
I've been spending the afternoon trying to figure out what strength of gummy is Tiger on this afternoon. It ain't 5 milligrams. It ain't 10. It may be 25 and possibly 50 based on what that outcome was, because he was barreling down the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit road, 2-lane road, tried to go around a trailer, clipped the trailer, spun or wrecked, slid sideways apparently for several feet. And that's why he had to climb out of the passenger side of the door. He has to stay he has to stay in jail for at least 8 hours. That's kind of mandatory. But my man, I mean, what was he on? And once again, the wrong combination of painkillers, because that's what got him in trouble.
True.
A few years ago when he got caught, sleeping over on the side of the road in his vehicle. So, man, it's just, and there were talks about him participating in the Masters next month. I don't know if this development quashes that or not, but once again, he's in the news for all the wrong reasons. Just when we were thinking about, hey, Tiger may actually be on the course swinging at a golf ball, which I think none of us will ever get tired of watching.
No.
Now it's gone back to the thoughts about drunken driving and follows people on the side of the road, and his wife hit him with a golf club, and him crashing into a tree, and all the bad things that have taken away from the luster and the persona that is Tiger Woods.
People want to root for him, I think. I to your point, I think it's like, okay, some mistakes were made. There were serious mistakes, but now he's getting a little older. He almost looks more approachable and more human because he's not as dominant as he used to be. And I think everybody was looking forward to this next chapter, presumably senior tour eventually as well. And that could still happen. I'm not saying that's out of the question at this point. But that's the sad part about this latest development, I think, is that I believe, given his popularity, most people are willing to say, okay, that was then bad stuff, but let's see where we are with this thing, and let's enjoy this aspect of Tiger. And now, like you say, he's in a sense kind of woken up the echoes of the wrong things.
Absolutely. He has woken up the wrong echoes of the wrong things. And I don't even want to watch him on the seniors tour. I want to see him, add to his 15 major titles. I want to see if he can get closer to the all-time record. I think we're all still infatuated, intoxicated with the thought that it may all come back together just for one tournament, for one 4-day stretch, that Tiger could be powerful off the tee, tremendous short game, and make putts that no other human being can make. And one day it's all going to come back, and he's going to win another. He's going to win another major. We're all going to get drunk off the aura and the mystique that Tiger Woods has shown through most of his career, not just except the last 10 or 12 years notwithstanding. You just think that he's going to do that, and people get excited about him possibly participating in the Masters. Brings back those type of thoughts and memories. Now, we have deal with this crime blotter police crap.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate. Well, if there's any new developments, we'll keep an eye on. In fact, I'm looking at the CNN. Our gal Randy Kay, a frequent contributor to this program, used to work in local TV here, now is a CNN national correspondent. She is in Martin County, Florida, picking up the news aspect of this story. Always been one of my favorite. One of the more versatile reporters out there who could cover literally anything. I mean, any story. It can be light. It can be serious as hell. She's always done a great job, has been very kind to this program, and the host of the show over the years as well. Maybe even we try to get her on at some point next week. Questions for Lavelle? Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line is open at 64686. I don't know how people have a difficult time listening correctly. 507 guy saying, no driving drunk. He blew goose eggs. He's impaired. We know that. I've said it 5 times. You were talking about some things in the past, but we couldn't have been more precise and more clear about what this apparently is at this point based on what authorities are saying. No one is saying this is another drunk. How does telling people 0.0 means no drunk driving in this case by authorities, but driving under the influence? I don't know how any more clear that we can be. Now, we can speculate on what it is. Likely some combination of pills. That's certainly the most obvious speculation, but let's see it play out. Let's see exactly where that part of the story goes. But we've made it clear from the beginning in every report we've given on the story that driving under the influence can mean something very different. So there you have it.
I am glad that the authorities at least announced that he blew a 000. Just so the speculation doesn't go in the wrong direction. So I'm glad they were willing to come up with that detail, because apparently this wreck occurred at about 2:00 Eastern time. So this is like within the last 4 hours or so. So kudos to them for being forthcoming right off the bat.
All right, so let's talk a little bit of baseball. Your Twins club opened yesterday with a 2-1 loss, which you could argue in miniature seemed to indicate a little bit of what going in this team might be about, right? And that was a chance at the top end of the rotation to still get some pretty good starting pitching, even if we're obviously down Pablo and at least one other starter due to injury. A suspect bullpen because we gutted it. We're kind of, starting over there, putting it back together, and a lineup that might not be very good, and the lineup was awful. I think 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position, and I think we hit into, if I'm not mistaken, 3 double plays. So here's where I've taken you to task as a ball guy, and I want you to have a chance to respond to it too, that the conventional wisdom among the ball guys seems to largely be, look, we know we're not very good realistically for all the obvious reasons, right? There ain't that much talent. There is, between the last 2 off seasons, a $60 million or more cut in the payroll, et cetera, okay? But if you're a ball guy, you really should be able to appreciate the players developing, taking a look at some of the young pieces that might be a part of the future. And my problem with the proposition isn't that it isn't accurate. It's that I think this is the one market where it's unfair to expect or to in any way ridicule fans who say, I can't play that game. Ordinarily, I might be able to, but if I'm playing this game in this town with this ownership that doesn't complete the pact, because the pact when you do silver linings is it's leading to something. And at the point where you're better, you then put more resources into your operation. You add to payroll. And in fact, the Twins last time around did the opposite of that. So I have no problem for guys who say, I don't care what the ball guys say. That's true in the purest sense, but they don't keep the other end of the pact. If they don't keep the other end of the pact, I don't have to participate in the front end as well. Does that not make sense?
Well, I mean, I could see some fans having that fatalistic approach, given what's gone on here the last several years. Well, hell, longer than that, because it's happening. I mean, in many ways, the Twins are in that group of teams that can be a farm team for other major league teams, just for getting rid of guys and having guys move on. In this case, it was force-fed because they got rid of guys they didn't have to get rid of.
Correct.
Players that still had, years of control that weren't even going to free agency. They moved, so they have sped up their own downfall or made this even farther of a fall. So, I mean, I get that, but there's still always infatuation about, well, is this guy going to be a great player? Is this guy going to be headline grabbing, box office smash hit? I think that holds true for most of baseball's prospects. Whenever there's a hot prospect, on the verge of breaking through or just breaking through and learning how to play, that people are wondering how good it is. I mean, I'm trying not to compare markets, but Yankees prospects are always right. Ricky Leday, Ruben Rivera, through the years, they were supposed to be like these great, fantastic guys. They get everybody excited. Everybody gets excited about the future because especially if the present sucks, Dan, and the present sucks for the Twins team. So people do look for silver linings, but it's also understandable if they're like, we're just in this vicious cycle because these guys may come up here, find out they're not good enough, or they are good, but we won't keep them for 6 years. And meanwhile, we have a team that can bring in free agents. So they're like in this, constant downward spiral that heads towards a drain. So I get both sentiments. I really do.
Yeah, I think I honestly do too. I think it's only fair, and we all understand that a lot of predictions in baseball, good one, as if teams doing better than expected or worse, they happen all the time, right? And occasionally that's even involved the Twins. So you can never rule anything out, but I think the history and sort of the sequence of events means I don't believe fans. I think fans can still say they are significant fans and not be punished or ripped if they say I'm sitting this one out for a while because I don't have much expectation that if this builds to something, I'm going to see those players stay here and I'm going to see the team be rewarded. I don't think they're ever going to be rewarded with this ownership group. And I know you and I have talked about this before, that is it a holding pattern that deep down they just want to wait a little longer until they can get more money for the team, and that's the truth, even though they don't want to admit it. Because I still think long term, that's going to be the thing that this franchise, quite frankly, needs. I really do. I don't think fans are ever going to get past the pole ads as a concept, fair or not.
No, I don't think they are, and I think people are already sitting this one out, Dan. The season ticket holders that have not come back from last year, that Tom Polite tried to call and convince to return. I'm sure they've taken it up the shorts in group sales. And look what happened today. They just sent out the email about opening day schedule of events. There's still tickets available. You can get into the house on opening day, the first day of the season at home for as low as $20. That tells you how that fan apathy is alive and well in this town when it comes toward this local 9. And I hope they pay attention to what's going on here. They've been having their ticket agents, call people over and over again to see if they can persuade them, to come out to a game or 2 or 3. But I don't know how much is working. So people are already saying, I'm not going to put myself through this torture again this year. And they have every right to do so. I can't blame them. I've always been the person who's trying to explain the other side. Right. And I've gotten ripped for it. But after that thing, and after the Toronto series, and they couldn't add on to that, after we saw in the stands how the fans were responding to the squad. And Pablo Lopez pitching his ass off. And just the great play Correa made to get Vladdy Guerrero Jr. thrown out at second base. I mean, there's just exciting moments. And the Twins had their fan base there. They had them. Even if they went status quo, it would have been better than right-sizing the payroll. But they went the other way. Yeah. So scared money don't make money. And you don't know what would happen if they decided to add on to that, and how that would have translated into more ticket sales, into more season ticket sales, into more group sales, or maybe advertising revenue. You never know because they didn't try.
We only have about 1 minute left. I should have gotten to this sooner. So given the reality of this season, which is sort of feeling out what we have because there's nothing really at stake. We know that. Did it surprise you that in the 9th inning, Royce Lewis got pinch hit for? Because I sit there and go, I want to find out whether he can rebound and what he is. Even if I think I have a better alternative, according to the analytics on the bench, I don't care enough about the game. What's more important for this franchise is finding out whether he can be redeemed as a frontline player. Did that surprise you at all?
Yes, it did. I actually wrote an item for the live blog that for some reason didn't make it about that. I was a little surprised. I would have had Royce has got to be their guy. Royce has to become he doesn't have to be the guy. He has to become a guy for them. He has to end up living up to the hype as a number 1 overall, not just a Twins first round pick, the first overall pick in baseball. The Twins passed up Hunter Green to take Royce Lewis, and the Reds took Hunter Green, and he's got an 11.4 WAR in his career, while Royce I think is at 4. Although I think Hunter Green is hurt right now for the Reds, but I don't care. You're bringing Trevor Larnach. If it was Jim Thome, I may feel differently.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Larnach's got a 660 career OPS. Yeah, makes sense. And now he's coming in cold, and here's a 101 mile an hour Hensley on the mound. I'd rather see Royce's been in the game, had a couple of. I don't know if Derek Shelton did not like the double play that Royce grounded into his fingers at bat. It could be if that factored in his decision. Dan, it's also this whole notion about you're just breaking camp from Florida, and you don't want to have guys sit. You want to use your bench right away because
Lava, we got to go
all spring and summer, which I don't care in those situations.
Lava,
Royce is the future.
I'm going to put Lava on hold. He's going to do his own radio show from this point forward, but we're out of time. Golden Gopher women's basketball is next. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you Sunday morning at 9.